welcome to another episode of the Grow Your Occupancy podcast. This episode of the Grow Your Occupancy podcast is sponsored by Model 55. Model 55 provides turnkey model apartment and design solutions for senior living communities, combining quick nationwide service with deep expertise in creating model apartments. Model 55's designs are more than just aesthetically pleasing. They are strategically designed to drive occupancy and sales. From custom designs to ready-to-ship kits, Model 55 has solutions for any budget. For more information, www.model55.com. That's model55.com. I'm Julie Podewitz, CEO and founder, and today I welcome two friends, colleagues, and former or past guests, both from a kind of a different topics and reiterations. Heather Tussing, president of the Aspenwood Companies, and Eric Varin, SVP of the Aspenwood Companies. Welcome.
Thank you for having us.
Well, tell us about the Aspenwood Companies for those who aren't familiar.
Well, we are Southeast. We're based in Houston, so we have a Southeast footprint. We currently have 19 communities with one additional under construction to open early next year in the Nashville area. And we really service both luxury and mid-luxury markets. So we have a lot of urban infill, which is very exciting products. And then we also serve the suburban markets with our mid-luxury as well.
Very good. So luxury and mid-luxury.
Yes.
How would you define the difference there?
So our luxury is obviously a different price point, and the real estate is in a slightly different market. Our mid-luxury, we still want to provide those luxurious amenities. They're just going to be tailored slightly differently.
Got it. And you all, the Aspenwood Companies, you've grown quite a bit.
We have. We have grown a lot. We grew by number of communities, we grew by 63%, right, Eric? 63% in March, this past March. We grew by 63% by number of communities in 1 month, and we're still all here. And we made it through it. And
wow.
It really was a great time. It's just hard, obviously, going through that, and that month is difficult.
Sure, 62% in 1 month?
63% in 1 month, yes.
So you more than doubled in size?
Yes, by number of communities, yes.
Wow, and those were acquisitions?
One new development opened in Charlotte, an urban infill product, and then yes, the others are through 2 management agreements and 4 acquisitions.
Whew, that is a lot. It kind of happens like that, doesn't it? Where it's the timing is tends to be in groups, right? In assets and
it was just different. I mean, it was different deals that came together at the same time. Like it's just. But honestly, it was an amazing experience. As challenging as it was, and it might not have felt amazing when you're going through it, but it showed us what we can do. And I think that's always a great learning experience when you can look back on it and be like so proud of what we did. And one of the things that I'm most proud of during that time is, and this is something that I applaud Eric and his team and our ops team on, is that we actually grew occupancy in our other communities that were not acquisitions. During the time we were going through that huge growth spurt, we also increased occupancy at our other communities that we had prior to the acquisition. And that's a testament to our sales and ops teams just doing what they do and having amazing community leaders.
It is. I continue to see posts and communications of occupancy success. We had one of your sales specialists on a podcast talking about occupancy growth and success. Kind of turning back to acquisition, since it's a very hot topic and it's happening across our industry probably on a daily basis. Eric, from a marketing and sales standpoint, so it's going to be two-pronged question. So I want to talk about, tell us what you do in preparation for acquisitions and having a successful, let's say, initial 90 days. It's also very impressive that your existing portfolio grew, because sometimes you can, we all experience that where we're really putting a ton of effort in this one area and maybe this other area falls off a little bit. So boy, share, if you don't mind, share your secrets to success.
I'm happy to. It's for me, it's the team that we have built for our sales leadership team. We have a phenomenal regional VP that oversees our luxury communities in the Houston market. Well, all of our luxury properties. We have an RVP that supports our mid-markets in the Houston and Arkansas area and Austin, Texas. And then we have an RVP that we hired for the Dallas communities. So, we spent a year. I came into the company almost 2 years ago, and we spent almost those 2 years really building out an infrastructure of support. One of the things that's really important to us as an organization is having boots on the ground, being in the communities, and not do the drive-by visit where you come in for 3 hours, you tell them everything that's wrong, and then you leave. There are multi-day site visits where you really are there for 2-3 days to really see what happens in a building, right? Oftentimes the first day everyone's on their best behavior, but by day 3, the wheels start to fall off, and you can kind of see really what the reality of life is. So that's been a direction of Heather, is we want people in buildings consistently, multiple days, to be able to ensure that we're operating and living our culture. And so that's kind of what was the success of the growth of the stabilized portfolio, was that we had really strong leadership so that I could pivot my attention. Also, a new dad, was literally raising my newborn son during this time. He had just come home from the hospital. 2 of us actually were going through having newborns during this transition of growing by 63%. It was an incredible experience. But, for me, it's about the due diligence, what you do before you get into the market, making sure that you have really strong understanding of what you're walking into. And you can get that through, obviously, the information from the other operator, from the ownership group, but also it's getting into the market and talking to people. So one of the things that I did was I interviewed all of the local referral sources before we took over our Dallas properties. And I spent time, and I had to play it like, we're looking at potentially coming into this market. What do you hear? What do you see? And I was able to get some really strong data of what these communities that we purchased, what was their reputation, what were the challenges, what was good about them, what was not good about them, and what needed to be addressed quickly. And so having that, being boots on the ground and understanding what you're walking into is really important. Now, there's always surprises, right? There's always, you're going to find out new things. We walked into one building and there was 19 shifts of agency that we did not know about before we walked in. So there's obviously things that happen, but I think finding those referral sources and then making them your advocate, because you need them for your feedback loop once you're actually in the first 90 days, right? It's here's what we're doing, helping them be bought into what our plan is, what our plan for success is, and then constantly asking for feedback. Hey, I saw you had a tour in our building last week. How did it go? What did you see? What did it feel like? What did it smell like? How was the team? How was the discovery? And getting that feedback from them so we can pivot and train quickly, because we had to introduce new CRM, a new sales methodology, a new culture, a new company. It was a lot for people to absorb in a very short period of time. So making sure you have that feedback loop and celebrate the little things. So often we keep our mind on the big ultimate goal, but we forget about all the little wins that happen to get you to the big goal. So one of the things that Heather and all of us do are, celebrate those mini wins. We have an internal channel on our teams for shout outs and kudos, and it's constantly being flooded with good stories, little stories, because that's really going to inspire each other and cheer each other on. And also because we're now spread out a little bit more across the Southeast, it allows the team to feel like they're a part of something bigger as well. So those were some of the things that we did. But for me, due diligence was so important. Understand what you're walking into. What are the communities like? What is the reputation? Try to get the nitty gritty ugly story so that you can at least start to plan out your kind of strategy for the 90 days based on the feedback you've heard.
Well, I want to talk to you. I want you to explain a little bit more on the calling referral sources. I think that's brilliant, but most importantly, new dad.
Yes. My husband and I welcomed our son 2 days before Christmas, and we took him home on Christmas Eve. And it's been an amazing journey. So we're very, very, very blessed.
Oh my goodness,
Thank you.
congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Wow, that is, we'll talk about new acquisitions, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, that was a big
That's the most
new
important.
acquisition. Yeah.
That's well, that'll be another podcast, right?
There we go.
You
I
can
love
tell us
it.
about successful parenting.
I love it.
I love it. Well, congratulations. Congratulations.
Thank you.
You have a son, and he's now about almost a year old, 10
9
months.
months old. 9 months old. Yeah.
Now you said 2 welcomed. Is that another team member?
Our VP of HR also had a baby during this time, so she had a little girl, and so we share stories on kind of what's happening in her life and what's, feeding and trying food for the first time and crawling and best practices. So it's nice to have someone I can commiserate with when I'm like, I don't know if I'm doing this right, So it's been great.
That's awesome. That is awesome. Well, congratulations again. Shifting to the less important, but equally of interest. So I love the fact that you picked up the phone, or you went and you talked to referral sources instead of making an assumption, or instead of like looking at it from your all's point of view. Ask the experts, ask others, right? So I love it. You said we're really looking for, first of all, the infrastructure for support. I love that. And then you're looking for know what you're walking into. So so you made phone calls to professionals and okay.
What I did is I did some research to determine what the top referral sources were in the markets we were entering in. And we made phone calls. I just literally spent one day asking for interviews and conversations. And then after they were over, I sent them a small gift of gratitude. And but you could really get some good understanding of the market overall, and then understand about specific communities, because they're very blunt and they'll be very, very honest with you, which is helpful, because there's usually with a takeover, right? There's challenges. So it's how grave are your challenges and where are the wins, what's going well as well, so that we also can go in and celebrate. And you start, hey, we heard from so-and-so that you do this really well. I'm so excited. Can we talk about how you do it? How do you be better at this, and celebrate it? So that collaboration, I think, referral sources oftentimes are kind of like lumped into placeformomandcaring.com, but those local resources can be huge because they're already ingrained in your market. So making them your advocate helps you just get your word out. And so that has also been very, very important. So when they call me, I treat them as a VIP, because I think that their insights are so vitally important, and they can shut you off. I mean, when we first when we took over a community, that one of them said, I don't refer there, and here's why. So I knew, okay, we have some work to do here versus maybe this one where people are really happy with. So how are we going to repair and position ourselves in a better way, and know how to message to that individual person, right? Care may be very important to this person, where programming may be important to this person. So being able to leverage the things that we do in those lanes with those individuals, because that's most important. It's almost, like doing really good discovery with them.
Yeah, it's exactly like that. And you're time and time again, I mean, for a successful lease up, for successful occupancy, ongoing relationships, word of mouth, professional sources, reputation is going to keep your building full. And higher converting, no pay per move-in model. And it sounds to me like you started that right from your position. You started the outreach, which is what I'm assuming would want your salespeople, your marketers at the community level to be doing if they hadn't already. And the fact that you did it, and then you were able to provide that information. But more importantly, in my opinion, it's like, hey, I did some phone calls and I reached out, maybe that's, well, it certainly is a message to, I could do that too. Or, he did that. And maybe that's even more of a soft opening or reopening.
Yeah.
For those.
What I found was great was I would use it. I would say, I talked to so-and-so and this person may not have. And I said, well, let's do a call together. Let's chat with them together, or let's host a lunch for them together. And
that's great.
So we've done that as well.
And then we also, Eric also oversaw secret shops as well occurring, so that we had that additional bird's eye view prior to going in of what the strengths and challenges were.
That's great. So secret shop or mystery shop, communities you're acquiring.
Yes.
We did. We have a partner that we use, and they did mystery shops on all the properties before we entered.
Got it. Got it. So Heather, from your perspective, it sounds to me like, you know, you've got a great team, great leadership team there and community teams. From your perspective, what is a must? Like, you know, to successfully, not with every acquisitions with bumps, of course, but the most successful acquisitions from your point of view have these things in place.
I think you have to be strategic and organized. You know, it's a lot of moving parts with a lot of different individuals. And we also have to understand that the community being acquired has a sense of uneasiness, as anybody does for the most part, going through a transition. And so I think being very organized, being very, like, these are the next steps, being very transparent. I think that is going to help the transition, but it also helps all of us at the home office level ensure that, one, we're assisting wherever we can. And if we see somebody has a really heavy lift, we're also checking in on them to see how we can help them as well. Because these are just, it was a huge month. But as a team, we definitely came through it much stronger than we even were before we went into it. You know, but because it was a lot. I mean, it was a lot on accounting. It was a lot on every single department that there is. It was a huge pull on all those resources because we don't have an acquisition team. It was us doing our day jobs and doing this as well. So I think it's just being very organized, being transparent, ensuring that we have the right support. That's critical. My team members at the home office, we all began at community level roles. So we want to ensure that our community team members still feel support, whether it be our current communities or our incoming communities. We want to make sure that they feel supported, regardless of what we feel was going on through the home office level, what's on our plate. We want to make sure first and foremost that the communities are supported. And I think one of the things that's pivotal to us is having a positive culture, and having a culture where we're good to each other, we like each other, and we'll be very transparent with each other. We'll agree to disagree. We'll hear each other out. It's a very, very healthy environment in that way. Because we're working with the best, right? So we have amazing home office team members, amazing community directors. So we're able to have hard conversations that help us be better as well.
You know, what I'm hearing from both of you, which is critically important, that others feel seen and heard, that you're, you know, validating at every level. So you can imagine, and I'm sure you've both probably been on the receiving end of an acquisition. I have too, or at the community level, you don't know what to expect. Certainly our prospects don't know what to expect when they're going, you know, it's all about that fear, the fear of the unknown. That's scary. So, oh my gosh, new bosses are coming in. Those walls are way high. And I mean, rightly so, because you not knowing what to expect is the basis of fear. So being kind of approaching it the same way we approach our prospects of, we understand this can be challenging, just let's chat, talk to me. And starting that way maybe helps bring the wall down, where you're not kind of just coming in and saying, all right, well, this is a CRM we're using now, and this is the way we're going to do. It's more of totally, let's understand what you're going through, and let's talk about it. Yes, likely a CRM shift and other shifts, but really having empathy from where the viewpoint of another person.
Really treating them as their people, right? We're all people.
Yeah.
So listening to them from the people perspective of it before we got into the others, the more business side of it was very vitally important to start building those relationships. And as soon as we were permitted to be in those communities, we were in those communities, helping them understand, answering questions that they had, meeting with residents and families. As soon as we were permitted, we were in those communities, even prior to the transition. And I think that's important because there's a lot of uneasiness in the unknown. And so we wanted to minimize what we could, understanding that we're not going to take it all away, but make it as best as we possibly could at that time.
Sure. And speaking of empathy, I wanted to ask each one of you. So from an operations viewpoint, from a sales viewpoint, sales and marketing, What is one thing that you would like the other department to be aware of? Meaning, so ops, I really would like sales to understand maybe this challenge, or to, same thing with sales, like from a sales perspective, I really would like ops to understand what something you might be going through, or something that's a specific challenge to that vertical of the business.
Well, I come from a sales background too, so I think I can see, like, I'm able to see, like, because in my role, I'm working through all the different specialists we have here at the home office level. But I think it's always important to understand what other people are going through. So, if a community, for example, is down a key or team member or two, then that could have an impact on that executive director and what their challenges are and so forth. So I think it's just having empathy and just understanding that everybody has challenges and working through those challenges. So I think I don't know that I'm the best person to answer from the ops side, because I do see the sales side as well. And I try to see, clinical, ops, sales, environment, like all the different all the different sides of it. But I just think it's important to realize that everybody is an individual, and they're going through things through either personally, or, if they're down key team members, that's going to affect the executive director too. So maybe the executive director can't make that sales call that we want them to make. Maybe not because they don't want to, because they're only one person. And so, so understanding that we have expectations, we have really, really high expectations. And that's something that's important to me. That makes me proud of what we do, because that means we're providing amazing services to both our associates and to our residents. So it's important to me that we do have high expectations, but we also have to offer grace. And you never know when that grace is going to be needed.
Yeah. I think for me on the sales side, I think what we've done really well at Aspenwood, it goes back to the culture and the fact that there's no finger pointing here. And we want people to feel that from the start. We don't want, there have been times in other past lives, right, where care is the fault, or sales is the fault, or ops is the fault. And that's not here. So it's about us being able to be really transparent with each other about what is going on and what are our struggles. Constant communication is also another thing, not living in a silo. I have constant conversations with my ops partners, with my plan ops partners, with my life enrichment partner. If I see something, I'll reach out, and we've also set the expectation that we all can speak for each other, right? Because we all have very high level senior leadership alignment and have the same expectation of what we want to see in the communities. So I think it's being able to be empathetic towards the other person, not just yourself, but the other person, and understand, hey, they've got this going on. How do I help them? How do I lock arms with them to achieve this? Not, why haven't you gotten this? Why haven't you finished this? Because now you're making my job harder. It's just not, which is so unique, I think, in senior housing. And I think that's what makes Aspenwood really special, is the whole mentality of joining arms together. And it just makes us stronger. That
empathy, I'm going to see and hear you. It doesn't mean you have to lower your standards, doesn't mean we're not human, and that we're sometimes like, oh geez, they didn't get this done, or I didn't do this, or I dropped the ball. That we're understanding of, or people feel seen and heard. It sounds like that culture, if you will, permeates through really the company, no matter what the situation.
And be okay with making a mistake. Like, we can make mistakes here. We don't make the same mistake 4 times, right? You make it once, but you raise your hand and you say, I made a mistake. I didn't get this, or I didn't do this, or this didn't go right. And it's okay, how do we fix it together? Yeah. Again, it's not pointing that finger. It makes you feel safe, which I think helps you be your best self, lets you bring your best self to work and be able to do and keep your mind on what's important. I think so oftentimes with transitions, there's a lot of feeling of unsafety, unsafe, right? And so if people are on edge, they're not worrying about the right thing. So how do you help them feel safe? How do you help them feel like they understand what we're doing? They're a part of it. Their voice is important to you. To get there. You want to have their DNA. I always say this, you want to have their DNA on it, right? How do you get their DNA infused into this? Because then they'll care, and then they'll work harder for it.
If people feel heard, remarkable things happen. But if people feel like they must be silent, then you're shortchanging your own organization.
Wow, that's great stuff. Anything, if you were to give, I don't know, a piece of advice, I mean, what you've shared up to this point is incredibly valuable. What's one takeaway that you've experienced in your role during a more than a doubling in size, right, in a short amount of time, that you will take with you or that you might advise others to do for success?
Want me to go first, Heather?
Yeah.
Do your work beforehand. Really understand what you're walking into. Do your due diligence. Talk to people in the market. Work hard at understanding what is truly going on, so that you minimize surprises and you're able to have contingency plans, right? I think that's what's really been helpful for us, is that, you know, we knew certain situations, we had contingency plans in place, ready to react once we knew the inevitable was going to happen, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think just doing the work beforehand is really, really important.
I agree. I mean, I'm a planner where I want A, B, and C lined up. So I think that is key. It's just being organized, having that plan, realizing you may have to pivot, and you're going to have to pivot sometimes for sure during that transition. But also, I think really having a strong team is invaluable during those challenging times, which when you grow by more than double, it is a challenging time. It's exciting, very exciting. And it's because of those team members that we're able to do that. Because of our community's performances, that we're able to have those dramatic changes, but it doesn't make it less challenging. So it's exciting and challenging, but if you work together as a team, like anything is truly possible. And it really did strengthen our relationships even greater. And it's also helpful that we respect each other, but we also like each other. And I think that makes a difference, and that's one of the positives in our culture that we have here at Aspenwood.
We spend a lot of time together, right? With those we
Right.
work, with whom those we work. So yeah, liking one another, respecting, hearing, seeing, so wonderful. Heather, Eric, with the Aspenwood companies, sharing your experience and your journey here in 2023, both personal and professional, with everybody. I really appreciate both of you joining the Grow Your Occupancy podcast this time around. I hope to have you both back on again. Again, Eric Varin, SVP of Sales and Marketing, and Heather Tussing, President of the Aspenwood Companies. Thank you all for listening to another episode of the Grow Your Occupancy podcast. And thank you to Model 55 for sponsoring this quarter's shows. Until next time, I'm Julie Podewitz. Have a great day. This episode of the Grow Your Occupancy podcast is sponsored by Model 55. Model 55 provides turnkey model apartment and design solutions for senior living communities, combining quick nationwide service with deep expertise in creating model apartments. Model 55's designs are more than just aesthetically pleasing. They are strategically designed to drive occupancy and sales. From custom designs to ready-to-ship kits, Model 55 has solutions for any budget. For more information, www.model55.com. That's model55.com.